welcome to our event today, Veterans Reskilling in Today's Economy. My name is Megan Pollock, and I'm the Vice President for Strategic Communications at Samsung Electronics. Thank you so much for joining us today for this important conversation. We're partnering today with the Manufacturing Institute to help bring awareness to one of the most important issues facing veterans, and that's transitioning from the military, and something that's certainly been compounded during the COVID-19 pandemic. So today during our event, we're going to talk to some veterans, some industry leaders and experts who really can give you some best practices, some resources and tools to help understand how manufacturers can employ and retain this amazing workforce of veterans in their manufacturing facilities. You'll also hear about the Manufacturing Institute's Heroes Make America initiative, which Samsung's proud to be one of the presenting sponsors. This is a program that's really been designed to help build that pipeline and ensure veterans can have success as they're transitioning out of the military and into the manufacturing space. At the core, Samsung is a manufacturing company. In our 4 decades in the US, we have learned that servicemen and women have an incredible skill set that's really specifically designed for the advanced manufacturing field. So, we found that over this time, that doesn't always equate. Hiring managers don't always understand that. And oftentimes, veterans are not set up for success as they move into the manufacturing field, even though they've got all the skills they need. So we really think it's important to continue programs and build upon programs like the Heroes Make America initiative. It's not about reskilling, it's about an understanding of the great skill set veterans have and how we can utilize them. So we think today is an opportunity for manufacturers and veterans to come together to find solutions so that we can ensure the success for our veterans and our manufacturing facilities. So we're excited that today's conversation is a beginning and hopefully can lead to some solutions on this front. Now, before we get started, I have 2 housekeeping notes. One, I hope you'll continue this conversation. This entire event will be available at the Samsung newsroom. That's at news.samsung.com/US. And also throughout this event, our incredible speakers will be taking live Q&A. So there's a box to the left of me. Fill in your question and we'll work to get started. We'll work to answer those throughout the event. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce someone who's been an amazing partner and a true leader on this initiative in the veterans space. Carolyn Lee is the Executive Director at the Manufacturing Institute. Carolyn, welcome.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you to Samsung. You and the Samsung team have been a tremendous partner in supporting this initiative over the last several years as we've really blossomed from a startup into a full-fledged initiative overall, and we're excited about the future today. So I come to you from the Samsung studio here in my house with some technology, and it's fantastic to have such a great technology partner on board. So, we're talking about manufacturing today. As many of you know, modern manufacturing is different than most people assume. I think if we talk about manufacturing with the average person on the street, they would think about some 1950s B-roll of having seen an assembly line and product coming out. Instead, what we have is a really dynamic industry that is team-oriented and really based on solutions that we need every single day. So, let's talk about what's at the base of manufacturing. It's really a collaborative, team-oriented sector that relies on people across broad teams working together for a common goal, something I think that will sound really familiar to those who have served. The essential nature of manufacturing has been made even more prevalent because of the recent COVID crisis. From toilet paper to packaged goods to PPE to the development of the therapeutics and the vaccines that will bring us out of this pandemic, manufacturing is truly at the center of our economy. So why did we start our Heroes Make America initiative? Back in 2018, we realized that there was this gap. We had a skills gap that we've been battling for years that remains today. And we had this tremendous workforce that was coming out of the military service and yet didn't know the ways to transition into the military, into the manufacturing sector. And so Heroes was born. We began as a skill bridge program aimed at transitioning service members to bring them in their last months in the U.S. Army, where we began our program. We've evolved now into an umbrella initiative where we're training people in multiple branches, in multiple locations, in multiple skill sets, and helping the broader military community to transition into the sector. And we couldn't be more proud. And the thing that's at the heart of this is a recognition among manufacturers of the core skills and knowledge that our military personnel have and the value that would bring to manufacturing. Manufacturing is a resilient sector, and there's much ahead of us. Even today, as we have historic unemployment, we still have about 300,000 open jobs in our sector. And that's because we have this core skills gap. We don't have enough people with the skills to fill our roles and to fill these roles in our factories. And I think that's where our military community can really come into play. So we need more veterans in our workforce. I know our companies are eager to have that. And now more than ever, this is an important job that needs to be filled. And we're excited to have conversations like this to help bridge that gap and bring people together. So we ask all of you from our companies, from manufacturers who are on the phone or dialing in today, and those who are from educational entities and other community organizations, to reach out and get involved with our Heroes Make America initiative and help find ways where we can help close the gap and bring more veterans into your communities and to your companies. So with that, I'm very pleased and honored to be joined by John Lowery, the Assistant Secretary of Labor for Veterans Employment and Training Service. John has held a number of manufacturing leadership roles in the private sector and served in the military service with 15 years as an officer in the Marine Corps and more than 10 years in the Marine Corps Reserves. In his current role, John is laser focused on getting the transition right for service members leaving the military. So John, thank you for bringing your vast experience, dedication, and passion to this important cause, and thank you for being with us. So John, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Carolyn. I really appreciate the opportunity to spend time with you today, and I want to thank Megan and Samsung and, of course, the Manufacturing Institute for hosting this important and timely, as you suggest, metaphor. Manufacturing is a passion of mine. As you noted, I started my professional life in the Marine Corps, but since leaving the Marine Corps active duty more than 20 years ago, I've been in and around manufacturing. I've worked in and led factories in Wisconsin, Missouri, Pennsylvania, Indiana, and like to think I have a real appreciation for what veterans bring to manufacturing. The best plants are the ones with good leaders up and down the help chain, driving process discipline and building problem-solving cultures. And this sort of environment is exactly what veterans experienced during their formative years in uniform. So manufacturing is indeed a great fit for veterans. And just to illustrate how successful veterans can be in manufacturing, I think back on my years at Harley-Davidson and during their most recent turnaround when they were recovering from the Great Recession, the three largest plants in the system, the ones that made all the powertrains globally and all of the motorcycle final assembly, were all led by Marines, and are not currently wearing the uniform, but former Marines. And I don't think that was a coincidence. Veterans tend to do very well in operational settings. So as you noted, I'm at the Department of Labor. I've been here since the beginning of the year. We and Vets, so it's an acronym, Veterans Employment and Training Service. We and Vets administer programs to meet the employment and training needs of veterans of all eras, transitioning service members and military spouses. And while there are many entities within the federal government that support veteran unemployment, we have partners in the Department of Defense and VA and Small Business Administration and Agriculture and DOT and elsewhere. Our agency is the only one solely focused on this mission. And as such, we are sort of the focal point, if you will, within the federal government for veteran employment. And being a good partner to our governmental and non-governmental, for-profit and not-for-profit partners is critical to our ability to support veterans. And that's why I made it a point in my first couple of weeks in office to visit the Manufacturing Institute, because I know just how important this organization is. And it was during that visit back in January that I learned about the Heroes Make America initiative, which is, it's awesome. And one of the things that's great about it, from my perspective, is it connects transitioning service members before they leave the service and helps them get those tools before they hang up the uniform so they can make a running start at that transition. And I've been incredibly impressed with the outcomes of the program. So, 95% graduation rate, 85 to 90% placement rate, and 25 placed in supervisory roles, which I think suggests, some of the leadership traits that people pick up in the military can be applied well in a manufacturing setting. And all of the success of the program just says to me how manufacturers are recognizing the value of veterans and they're scooping them up. And, that's just good for those companies and good for America. So thank you for this important initiative. Prior to COVID-19, which seems like a million years ago, I think for us all now, the situation of veteran employment was great. We hit a historic milestone. Unemployment in veterans fell to 3.1% in 2019, which was the lowest annual unemployment rate for veterans since 2000. And while the recent and certainly unprecedented jump in the veteran unemployment rate has been alarming, it has been coming down month over month since its peak in April. We'd hope this trend continues. And just to put in perspective, in June, veteran unemployment rate was about 8.8%, which is comparable to where it was at the depths of the Great Recession in 2010. Non-veteran unemployment, by contrast, is still in the double digits, which suggests to me that employers see the relative value of their veterans and want to hold on to them, especially during these challenging times. In terms of how we get people back to work, I think we do have a few things going for us now that we didn't have going for us in the Great Recession. First of all, we've made this journey before, from 8.8% to 3.1%, so we know how to do it. Secondly, we in vets are better resourced than we were a decade ago. And finally, we expect, the majority of these folks who were recently furloughed due to COVID to return to their former jobs once it's, safe to fully reopen the country. Most recent estimate I've heard is about 58% of those jobs will still be there to return to. So, that's welcome news for veterans whose factories are temporarily idle, but expect to reopen. And it's also good news for those soon-to-be veterans acquiring manufacturing skills through Heroes Make America and other similar programs. So what's the future look like? At VETS, our vision is to enable all veterans to reach their full potential in the workplace. And achieving this vision not only helps the veterans, their families, and the companies they serve, but when you aggregate that across the country, it's good for America. It's good for prosperity and our security. And this vision informs our two agency priorities. One, as you noted, Carolyn, it's getting the transition right. If we can crank an extra degree or two of slope on someone's career trajectory as they're coming out of the service and allow them to hit that slope with a running start, the compounding effects of that over time are going to be just incredible. And then the second priority is that we have to have the right strategic partnerships to maximize our impact. There are a lot of people in this veteran employment space, and to the extent we can more efficiently harness the collective energies of our partners, we're going to be that much further ahead. And again, this is why we so value our partnership with the Manufacturing Institute and the National Association of Manufacturers in general. On the transition front, I do want to let you know some of the things that we're doing in addition to providing in-person employment workshops, which frankly have migrated by and large into the virtual realm. We do on an annual basis touch about 172,000 transitioning service members every year across 200 military installations worldwide. And that continues, albeit virtually. But very recently, we have three important initiatives that I think are going to help the transitioning service members and help employers connect with the right future employees. One is a employment navigator concept. This is a sort of one-on-one concierge service, if you will, to help transitioning service members answer that all-important question, what do I want to do after military service? and then connect them to the right resource to begin that journey. We are in the process right now of identifying which installations we'll use to pilot this program. The Department of Defense is very eager for it, and we have great expectations. We think we'll pilot this on about 15 or 20 bases worldwide. Another pilot that's very much underway is specific to those who are interested in pursuing apprenticeships. So this would be a particular interest, I think, to anybody in manufacturing. We have apprenticeship placement counselors in 8 installations: Fort Bragg and Fort Bliss in the Army, Miramar and Cherry Point in the Marine Corps, Norfolk and San Diego in the Navy, and Travis and Ellis in the Air Force. And these apprenticeship placement counselors work individually with transitioning service members to help place them in apprenticeships based upon their desired trade and their post-separation location desires. Finally, we are on the last phase of a competition that offers $1 million in prize money to companies who develop a software tool to connect transitioning service members with future employers. Think Match.com for veteran employment. We had more than 50 entries and are now testing and evaluating our most promising entry, which happens to be the company that provides the artificial intelligence behind Match.com. And if successful, we see this tool not only being effective for transitional service members, but for veterans at large. We hope that these initiatives will assist you in finding and hiring veterans. And for those of you who are already doing a great job at this and don't need any more help, we encourage you to apply for the Hire Vets Medallion Award. This is the only federal award that recognizes employers who hire, retain, and support veterans. And from a marketing perspective, earning the Hire Vets Medallion Award, it's great for your brand, but it also gives you a competitive advantage in the war for talent, because the Medallion Award serves as a beacon for veterans looking for companies where veterans thrive. And we have this interactive map on our hirevets.gov website that makes it easy for transitioning service members and veterans to find award recipients in their hometown or wherever they aspire to live. And we show them this tool in our employment workshops. So let me close by thanking all of you for your support of hiring veterans. As you all know, hiring veterans is not only the right thing to do, it's a smart business decision. Veterans comprise one of the most capable and resilient talent pools in the nation, and they will help rebuild our businesses and our economy. And I'd like to connect, if you would like to connect rather, with us at Vets to get more information on anything I covered or other topics in the veteran employment space, I urge you to reach out to my teammate Meg O'Grady, and I believe we have her contact info on a slide in this presentation. Thanks again for the opportunity to join you. I look forward to your questions. Back to you, Carolyn.
Thank you, John. And your depth of experience on both sides of this issue is to the great benefit of frankly, all the veterans in our nation. So thank you, and the sector as well. So great questions coming in. And a couple of them, we're all talking about shifting to virtual training. I know our Heroes Make America program has launched fully virtual training in a couple of different pathways since the COVID crisis came upon us. And so there's some great opportunities there. How are you engaging differently? I know you talked about some of the work that you're doing at the agency, but how are you operating differently in your process to reach more people still virtually? And also a question on how do companies get involved in the pilot you're launching with the Department of Defense, and how companies can engage there?
Great question. So we are, like everyone else, are stumbling through figuring out all these various, whether it's Microsoft Teams or the WebEx platforms and Zoom and the whole host of them that we've been experimenting with. Microsoft Teams is the one that's been most effective for us. It's also a platform that's readily available across the Department of Defense, so it allows us incredible reach to those customers, if you will, those future veterans to be, have pretty broad access to it. So that's where a lot of our touch points have been. We back in, I think, February, when we started closing down the in-person training sessions, it was almost like hitting a light switch. We went from 100% brick and mortar to 0% brick and mortar. And so we didn't, frankly, have the capacity to migrate fully over to a virtual platform. That took us 2 or 3 weeks. Now we're happy to say we actually have more virtual capacity than we have demand in the classroom. And this is also helped by the fact that some of the bases are going back into brick and mortar. So we are often delivering these sort of hybrid situations where you'd have socially distanced people in a classroom, or maybe even 2 classrooms where they have a video into that second classroom. And then you have people who are online, anywhere plugging in. So I personally attended a class in Fort Riley, Kansas from the comfort of my home in Arlington, Virginia. So that's all going fairly well. I think where it gets challenging is in some of these skill bridge type programs like Heroes Make America, right, where there are some hands-on components to the training, I presume, and doing that safely and maintaining social distancing protocols and all that is a challenge. As for how do you connect with our pilot, please reach out to Meg O'Grady if you have interest in this. We are not territorial in any way in terms of how we want to vector. Our vision for this pilot is to vector people to the right opportunities and the right companies for them. And so we want to have as broad a portfolio of options for that service person as they begin to think through their career. So you reaching out to us and we've been able to put you on that sort of menu of options is something that we would love to do. So please reach out to Meg and we can make that happen.
Excellent. Well, it is a pleasure to have you and join us today, and it's just tremendous the amount of work that's being done to make sure that we're caring for our nation's veterans and the military community, but also, as I was told when I first went down to Fort Hood when we were launching down there 2 years ago, it's not just and you alluded to this, John, it's not just in our patriotic duty to do this, it's in our economic duty to do this.
Right.
And we will all, improve, and our sector will improve with the addition of this tremendous talent. So now it is my pleasure to introduce the moderator of our panel, which will follow us, Babs Chase, who's the MI's VP for Military and Veteran Programs. With Babs's leadership and with the passion and commitment of the full Heroes team, over the last 18 months, the Heroes program has really blossomed from a single training program to a full-blown initiative where we're really working to transition more of our military community into manufacturing, and doing so with flying colors.
Through our career
So
skills
now I'm
program,
pleased to turn it over to Babs, and thank you, John and Megan, for participating and your leadership here today.
Through our career skills program, Heroes Make America, transitioning service members, fully separated veterans, and military spouses have the opportunity to earn in-demand credentials, certifications, and skills that manufacturers need today.
What attracted me to Heroes Make America program is because I can see it's already working. It's beneficial towards me and my family, and the avenues or areas I want to go into.
The speakers who spoke for the program, they really drove me and really motivated me, so I really wanted to just jump in and experience it.
The more that we go through the course, the more that I realize my military training helps feed into learning about the manufacturing industry.
It's more of a confidence builder that I actually do have a marketable skill that employers are looking for.
Any way you cut it, Heroes Make America is important to American business.
Heroes will truly become a full-fledged initiative, allowing us to provide wraparound support to our companies and our service members and veterans to thank them for their service and ensure that they succeed in the manufacturing sector.
I'm going to be great. I feel like I'm going to walk away from this program with the knowledge and the tools that I need to be successful.
This program is just the seed that's going to just keep giving. I can't say enough good things about it. As a matter of fact, I might be getting a phone call right now.
I definitely feel that the things that we're learning now in the Heroes Make America program will help anyone, but help me in my goals in the future.
Good afternoon. This pandemic has elevated manufacturing and its essential workforce in the eyes of the American public. Until now, I know a lot of us took this for granted. At this crucial time, manufacturing is still facing a skills gap, and the Manufacturing Institute recognizes the value of the military community to help fill this need. Their ability to lead, and follow orders, operate under pressure, and adapt to challenging situations are only a few of the traits that make them uniquely qualified for the industry at this important time. These are challenging times for anybody that is seeking employment, and the veteran population is at a disadvantage since they often struggle with aligning their military experience to civilian careers. Our Heroes Make America training directly assists this population by providing industry-recognized certifications to enhance the knowledge and skills that they've gained in service. We are continuing right now to still train in person on 5 separate locations across the country and also continuing to train virtually as needed. We are also using a new platform, Heroes Connect Military to Manufacturing, to directly introduce this important community to manufacturers that are hiring today. We're doing everything we can to make these connections work. But going back to the population itself, years of technical experience combined with strong leadership skills can make an ideal candidate for so many different roles across the industry. And the reskilling and alignment with civilian needs provides that added advantage that we know the population needs as well. We are honored to have 3 incredible veterans joining us today, each bringing an incredibly unique perspective around reskilling of military talent to prepare them to serve in the civilian sector. John Buckley, Outreach Strategies Manager for Koch Industries, retired as a colonel in the Army after 33 years of service. John may have hung up his uniform, but for those of us that know him, he has never quit serving. Today, John is not just a career coach, a mentor, he's also a published author. And he has a sincere passion for assisting service members with their transition to the private sector. Andrew Morton is the Director of Veterans and Certifications Affairs at the Society for Human Resource Management. He served 21 years in the Army as an infantry officer and in multiple senior public affairs positions. Andrew is passionate about efforts to foster awareness and resources in support of mental health for all employees in our workplace. Last but not least, George Clay is a production supervisor at Sherwin-Williams based in Bowling Green, Kentucky. George retired from the Army as a Sergeant First Class after 20 years of service. From our standpoint at the Manufacturing Institute, we are a little bit proud to count him as an alumni of the Heroes Make America program. He completed our mechatronics training at Fort Campbell, Kentucky just this past December. Gentlemen, welcome and thank you for being with us today. John, I'm going to start with you. You have been a champion of the Heroes program since its inception. When we talk about reskilling, it is more than a conversation around technical skills. Can you share just a little bit about this from your personal perspective?
Thank you, Babs. Thanks for phrasing the question the way you did, too, because many times in the reskilling or even upskilling in the manufacturing environment, we think just about the technical skills. And I think the strength of the Heroes Make America program is that it was designed not only to reskill our military veterans, but to better prepare them for the entire military to civilian transition. In a lot of my research work and personal experience, I found that there are several barriers or several hurdles that we military veterans face as we make the transition. And that's what I'm talking about. Heroes Make America does much, much more than just teach our veterans new skills. They also assist them in the communication and culture gap. They introduce them to what manufacturing environments are like, introduce them to people who have been working in manufacturing for their career. They assist with the resume writing. They assist with the interview preparations. They partner with businesses who are not only military friendly, but also military ready. And I think that makes a huge difference. So reskilling, in my mind, under the supervision and tutelage of the Heroes Make America program is very comprehensive. And it really does a great job of preparing our veterans for the military to civilian transition into a manufacturing environment.
John, thank you so much. And I appreciate you mentioning our team there. We've got an incredible team around the country that really is working hard on these personal connections, not just with the transitioning population, but also with our manufacturers that are doing it right. George, I want to pose a similar question to you. Obviously, your perspective 6 months out is a little bit different. So I would love to hear from you. How can the soft skills that most veterans have, such as leadership and communications, be repurposed into the manufacturing industry?
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for that question, Babs. The main thing that we think about when we see soft skills, we're looking for somebody gets out of bed, gets to work, able to follow their schedules and be a productive part of a team. When we start looking at what veterans are bringing into organizations, it's a lot more than the common soft skills that you look at. I say it often, and I say it as much as I can. Veterans are trained to be trained. There's a whole lot of time that goes into training military personnel to be able to learn something quick, pick up on it quick, and take it and do something productive with it. Sometimes at a moment's notice. Sometimes you get months of training before you go out and be able to put forth skills. And sometimes it could be as short as a 30-minute briefing, and then you're going out making decisions. Mentoring and coaching, it's in our blood. Every leader that's developed in the military comes out with a sense of authority, self-worth, and definitely pride in what they do. And a lot of that comes through when we're coaching and mentoring individuals to be able to not only do their job, but maybe overcome some of the life skills that they're having problems with that may be affecting their job. Another thing that we're really able to do is make decisions, whether it's on the spot, on the fly. We're trained, like I said, to take all the information around us, package it together, make the best decision that we can, and best of all from that, learn from those decisions that we make. If they're the wrong decision, we come back and we're able to do a review on those things and prepare for the next time that we have to do those things and have a better life skill involved with it as well. And most important to manufacturing is safety. We're safety conscious. We're always looking around. Our head, as we say, is on a swivel. We're looking to make sure that everybody gets into work safe and they leave the same way or better they came in. Nobody wants to send somebody home because they have a limb injury, even worse, a concussion or not going home at all. And these are things that are always on our mind. It's not a forced function for personnel in the military. Veterans do this as it's ingrained into everything they do. And then lastly, our values and ethics. We talk about how individuals are raised in family environments, different environments. We get a lot of cultural training. We get a lot of cultural exposure. There's not a whole lot by the time somebody is leaving the military that is really going to surprise them when they enter into maybe a different culture, different environment. Allows us to adapt very easily and also be able to acknowledge the culture and ethics of either our environment or the people that we're going to be working with.
George, that's great. Thank you so much. And I appreciate what you said as well, just as far as, safety and things like that, particularly in the challenging times that we're dealing with. If you've got a veteran and a leadership role there in your company, you're well taken care of. Andrew, I want to turn this over to you quickly. You have a really unique role and an incredible opportunity for impact as you are directly preparing human resource leaders to recruit, hire, and retain talent from the military community. I'd like to hear a little bit from you about the primary focus of human resource leaders as they implement these workforce development programs, and also if you can touch a bit on how things have adapted during COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, I couldn't agree more with George and John, some of the things that they alluded to. I hear the discussion about soft skills, but sometimes I think one of the particular important roles that SHRM plays and our foundation plays is educating HR professionals and organizations on exactly what those skills are. Skills such as empathy, cultural astute, service members coming out of service, and initiative, things. We have this thing in the Army, and I'm sure the gentlemen understand this from their service perspective too, is commander's intent. And essentially, you're not giving a prescribed set of very specific rules. You're being told what needs to be achieved within the framework of the organization's culture, and then people go out and achieve it. And so one of the roles that we play at SHRM is helping bridge this understanding divide, because it's the civil military divide that I've often heard described is not born of malice or ill will, as it may have been in previous generations. It's born of just a lack of understanding. And oh, by the way, it's a mutual misunderstanding on the part of the service member and the organization, and they have to meet in the middle. And they have to, it's the men are from Mars and women are from Venus with regard to organizations and veterans. We have to speak the same languages and understand each other. And that's really what we have been doing in our Veterans at Work program for HR professionals, is educating organizations and businesses on how to best use the talent that the military service members have, the continual learner, if you will, as George alluded to. And, you know, one of the most important components of that is to really understand how to take it not just in the talent acquisition role or not in the workforce development role, but in talent mobility and talent development throughout their entire career. You've seen numbers maybe where military service members don't retain as high as employees across the broader spectrum. Well, the reality is that's not true if organizations and service members themselves can better understand how to onboard properly and how to keep folks engaged and ultimately retained within organizations by taking advantage of their skills, by moving through the organization laterally in some cases doing a move that's horizontal, taking best advantage of an opportunity really to stay within the organization and use your skill sets. Talent mobility is probably more important than acquisition and probably more important than workforce development, because that truly allows you to allow the employee to grow and to stay with the organization. In terms of COVID-19, so many different things. I'm sure we can speak to that as well across your other panelists, but, you know, being able to physically distance without socially distancing, the biggest misnomer and biggest misuse of our lexicon and our vocabulary was social distancing. I mean, that put us in a predisposition to be socially distanced when really what we need to be is physically distanced. And I think all of us are starting to understand some of the repercussions of social distancing relative. I mean, there's really two pandemics we're trying to solve for, COVID-19 being one and the other one being isolation. And we really have to be mindful of not solving for one and exacerbating the other.
Andrew, thank you. Those are really good points. You know, I want to move on. I know our time's going to be tight today. So, John, if you can expand a little bit, and I know it's probably going to have some connections to what Andrew's talking about as he's preparing these HR leaders, but I know you are dedicated to helping service members, but you're also encouraging manufacturers. How has your message changed with COVID-19?
You know, my answer will kind of very much tailor with what was just discussed. I put it in this perspective. In the military, when we get ready for training, we design it according to a task. Define the task clearly, define the conditions in which they have to perform the task, and then you provide the standard task conditions and standard. And in this environment, the task and the standard haven't changed, but the conditions may have, right? We're working more virtually, or we may have to, even in the transition process, have to interview now over a phone or something as opposed to being in person. So the guidance really has changed in the sense of preparing the military veteran in my mentoring of their transition or through their transition to get comfortable speaking on a telephone. Consider some unique things and challenges in that kind of an environment. But post-hire, once you started working, the isolation becomes an issue. Culturally, we're used to working on a team in close proximity, relying on people, built on trust that is reinforced by being close to one another. Now that you work in a COVID-19 virtual environment or COVID-19 driven virtual environment, you've got to retain that camaraderie, that proximity to one another, but it may not be physical now. So it's important to reach out, build sort of a perimeter of people that you can rely on. And then for the businesses, I kind of do the same thing. I focus on the culture. What's the cultural difference of these folks that you're hiring that you need to address? One, of course, again, goes back to this isolation. How can you check on the military veteran that you just hired to ensure that they're comfortable in this environment? Secondarily, you look at some of their career development and understand that culturally, they like to know what's next for them. So how can you reinforce their performance today by having an earlier conversation in the process, focusing on what's next or potentially what's next? So again, I think a lot of what I do relative to the military veteran and to the manufacturers are about the same from a task and a standards perspective. It's just changing and realizing that the environment's different and there may be some small things that you can do to overcome that.
Great, thank you. George, along similar lines, you had previously mentioned to me about the network that you had built through your participation in the Heroes Make America program. Can you share how that has helped you during your transition in general, but also during this unique time?
Most definitely. I was definitely one of the guys that, in a room, give a hearty handshake, and that was my idea of networking, social networking, online networking. All these things were just not part of what I did on a normal basis, and was a big fight when I got started. The more that I got involved with the Heroes Make America program, it really gets you to understand how important that network is. When we started looking at networking, I thought, okay, well, we're using the LinkedIn network. I've got a few folks that I've made contact with. We've been introduced to a couple people. Great, this is working. And then it came, okay, well, now you got to go out and do social events. Now you have to do some more networking this way. Went out there and it worked. Those things were great to get through the program. What has made the most impact as far as networking for me has come afterwards. Yes, I was able to get a job by going out and experiencing the tours that we went on, talk to employers, and get a real good feel for the industrial environment for manufacturing. But what happens afterwards? So we still talk, my cohort, we still talk to each other, most of us online, texting back and forth. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Sometimes those have been those key elements where you're just kind of feeling down, and that's a connection that you needed. Also, it keeps things familiar as you're transitioning out. We've gone through from a flagpole and seeing uniform and boots to a whole different style of a neighborhood. I drive into an industrial park and go to work, and I feel comfortable there. But I go home and I don't feel comfortable in that neighborhood yet because it's just not where we started. So, looking out to everybody as I continue to go through these things has helped me build stronger networking relationships. I've had many folks ask, how did this happen? How are you doing now? What's the next step? What does it really look like? Is this networking thing really true, or is it just smoke and mirrors? What's the end result of a lot of this? And for me, it's come down to being able to provide snippets of my own resume and say, hey, this is some of the verbiage that I used, and this is what helped me get where I was at. Also, it's helping to build that next step. One thing that really doesn't get understood is that 6 months, 1 year out, you kind of hit the wall. And if you don't have a goal, you don't have something else there, you don't have that next step ready, it's going to hurt. And you really need to have a window in that wall so that you can look through it and go, okay, I do know there's something else here. Networking for me right now is providing that, as I'm able to reach back and provide my lessons learned, and then still field a lot of questions of folks going through current classes now.
Great. George, thank you. Want to jump on down to our last question, because I know we've got a few questions in the chat as well. So Andrew, I'm going to start this with you, and then I'm going to ask each of you to reply to this. Now more than ever, the experiences of veterans and their ability to adapt and work well under pressure is a crucial asset to any company. We've touched on this a little bit, but I think, knowing that the majority of our audience are probably human resource leaders or recruiters or plant managers and folks that are really interested in engaging with this community, what advice would you give to them when they are trying to engage and recruit this talent into their manufacturing facilities? Andrew, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, so first of all, I just want to hit real quick anecdotally on what George alluded to in terms of networking.
That'd be
A service
great.
member who's transitioning into an HR career because that's happens to be what he's doing in uniform now. And he's transitioning in June of 2021. And he said, when do you think, I really should start applying for jobs and networking? And I said, the first time you go to a SHRM chapter meeting in August or September or October or wherever you may do it, you're networking all the time. And I think we understood that in the terms of what we did in uniform per se, but we didn't really fully appreciate the informal nature of networking and how vital and important that is. In terms of, you bring up a really good question and a really good point about what would I tell organizations? I would say the first and most important thing is lead with your culture. And I know that seems cliche and maybe it seems a little bit arbitrary or subjective, but no matter what you're making in manufacturing or whatever industry you're doing, your culture is going to be the thing that makes it a purpose-driven mission for that veteran. It's going to be the thing that they value per se. I know a lot of friends that work across a lot of industries, and the one common denominator for all of them as veterans is that they're most happy when they feel like they belong to an organization where they feel fulfilled in terms of their purpose, and they also feel as if they're being valued at the same time. It's not a mutually exclusive proposition, frankly, to be honest with you. The second thing that I'll add unabashedly and unapologetically is if you are out there in a manufacturing organization, the best place to start your veteran hiring is in that cubicle outside of your HR director's office. Put a veteran into an HR position because that's what they do every single day in uniform, regardless of their occupational specialty. They know training management, they know development, they know inclusion, they know risk management, and these are all the tenets and the components to human resources. Mission first, people always. That was our mantra in the military, and that's the mantra of HR. So what I would say is hire veterans into your HR positions, get them trained up through SHRM, but hire them as members of your HR organization and start and grow from there.
Excellent points, Andrew. Thank you. I'm going to give the same question to you, George. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. Go to you next.
All right. My biggest advice for employers is understand that there is a certain amount of strength and culture that comes from a veteran. We are definitely trained to be able to handle a lot more in leadership roles and are tested by, you could say, by the fire and brimstone. You set up a team, create a good value culture, and you're going to interest a veteran. Give them a goal, give them a drive, give them you're not giving them a problem, you're giving them a goal set is really what you're doing. You're giving them the ability to accomplish something, and that's the drive. Those are some of the types of things that are definitely to get your veteran to look at your organization. And on the backside of just going through all of this, it was definitely the culture of the organization. Sherwin Williams I work for right now, the team, the mentality, the culture, everything that was involved with it is what attracted me to there. They gave me the goal afterwards, and they're giving me the drive to continue to go and move forward. And those are the skills that you're going to get with those veterans.
Great. Thank you. John, now to you.
Sure. I think it's important for a business to understand that a lot of veterans, almost 50% of veterans, leave their first job within the first year. And that's been proven in several different research projects, nationwide research projects. But the number one reason for that to occur is because an inappropriate culture fit. And so when I coach and mentor veterans, that's the first thing I tell them to look for in a company. Look at their culture. Understand what they expect of their employees. So leverage that experience, number one, if you're the business leader. Number two, I think it's very, very important to understand that most military veterans, almost everybody that comes in the military, are going to be mission focused, but they're driven more by the intention. So don't micromanage them. Tell them what their purpose is, orient them, tell you the expectations, give them the resources to succeed, and then let them just do their job, and they will do it very well. So I think if you understand that the culture that the military veteran brings is one of teamwork oriented, mission focused, leverage those two strengths. They're very, very resilient, and they will perform for you if you give them the opportunity to do so.
Great. Thank you all for that. We've just got a few questions that have come into the chat, and I'm going to give one out to the group. Right. Someone is asking, how do you make veterans aware that you have open positions? I'm going to quickly touch on what I mentioned earlier from the Stanford Manufacturing Institute. And then, of course, John and George, if you'll share your input as well on that. And Andrew, you may have some ideas also. So we started a program called Heroes Connect, Military to Manufacturing. You can learn more about it on our website. And what we are doing is allowing a virtual platform to directly introduce the military population to manufacturers that are hiring today. We've got a schedule of upcoming events on our site, and then also have a form for manufacturers to let us know if they're interested in participating. So I'm going to turn that question over now to you, George and John. Any ideas from your respective companies? And then Andrew, any ideas you may have as well for those that are looking?
Okay. Yeah, I can.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I mean, so our company in particular, and I would think a lot of different companies use lots of different job boards. So you could look into the VA, they've got programs there. You can look into Department of Labor programs, state programs. I mean, our jobs are posted in numerous places. But I think one of the best ways to simplify your search is to reach out to folks like me. There are many companies out there who have military relations experts, veteran programs. You've got employee resource groups. Reach out specifically. So George talked about a network. That's where you could start your network. Find veterans who are in a business. And that networking will expose opportunities to you that you probably never realized. And it saves a lot of time than jumping on a job board where there are thousands and thousands of jobs posted and really complicates the search. So yeah, build a network, find somebody who works in a company that's a veteran that speaks your language, start with somebody like me, and it will simplify the search and you'll learn about opportunities rather quickly.
And John, I'm glad that you went first, because you were actually you were our first person to come and introduce yourself to our class. We did our first factory tour with you, and the amount of time spent doing that opened up our eyes to see what was out there. Secondary to being able to work with wonderful individuals like yourself, we're definitely look to the installations. The Soldier for Life program has open doors. They have many events where you can do either virtual or do the on-post career fairs, job fairs. They also allow for booths to be set up. Come in, get involved with them. You can go there. You'll talk to folks that are transitioning out, up to even a year out from their service date or service exit date. So it's a great spot to start looking to see where you can start developing folks to come in and see what you've got.
Andrew, anything else to add?
I think the gentleman, you don't always have to cast a very wide net, and ultimately, obviously, referrals are still probably the most powerful and important form of new veteran hires. But at the same time, if you're building an organization, SHRM, through its Veterans at Work program, through our Foundations program, we've trained about 5,000 HR professionals last year, and well on our way to doing that this year. And many of them ask, now that we're ready to hire, we need to know where to find. And George and John brought up some great examples. We SHRM, we do have a Hire Vets platform that's fueled by the largest veteran database out there, and that's managed by JobPath. And it enables for the resume translation from mill to civilian and from civilian to mill. So you can literally type in the attributes of your particular job that you're looking to fulfill, and it'll match you against a very specific occupational specialty, even if the veteran may have not been astute enough at the point of developing the resume to write down those particular keywords. So there are many different resources out there. The key is ultimately know what you're looking for too. And that's the important component of it. I mean, not to be analogous to dating sites again, but if you don't know what you're looking for, you probably shouldn't be out in the market looking for somebody.
Well, that's fair. Andrew, thank you so much. And for any of our listeners or our folks that are interested in finding the SHRM Veterans at Work Certificate Program, they can certainly go directly to your website. But there's also a link on the Manufacturing Institute site under additional resources. So clearly posted. So I encourage anyone to go through and look at the great work that the SHRM Foundation is doing to support HR leaders. So with that, gentlemen, it is time for me to wrap up. So in closing, I just want to thank Samsung for their support of the Heroes Make America program and the Manufacturing Institute and for hosting this opportunity today. I also want to thank Assistant Secretary Lowery and our panelists, John Buckley, Andrew Morton, and George Clay. And last but not least, thanks to our guest for joining us today. We urge all of our manufacturers to engage with us. We need you to help us make today's American heroes tomorrow's manufacturing leaders. Thank you so much.